Shalom Akim Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Makakadash, Barakatam, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, to the Akim Akbar, to the falcons of the earth, holding in sincerity and in truth to the gospel, Lord Amashak Yahushai, in these days and times, with diligence of mind. This is Bram Nasher, DC Camp. Short lesson, quick lesson for the hopeful. Let I won't make this too long. Yeah, so this captivity we're in, man, is just a reminder of of the prophecies of the Lord, man. That we are still in the hands of our enemies, man. Our wake up call is on a regular, daily basis, man. So you hear this hearing on Capitol Hill about this immigration and custom enforcement and the Customs and Border Patrol and Homeland Security, and then you see the headline, the title of this clip. It says, "This is a 5-year-old." So you have this member of Congress, walking sure. It says, reads letters from children in ICE facilities to ICE heads. All right. So it just reminds you of the residential school system, that Esau really used to destroy the Northern Kingdom. What they did is it's really, 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 really indicative of the heart's desire of Esau, you know, making that proclamation to slay his brother Jacob. And this is just a testimony, of children, you know. Yeah, man, that are in the custody of the so-called U.S. government, that are in this so-called facilities, man, and hey, the trauma, man, that children have to deal with. It's not as if it's not what you call a so-called juvenile detention facility for children that have committed crimes. These are children that got caught up in the immigration sweep, and when the government plays games, deliberately plays games with the legal process, the pathway towards them having a legal status, it becomes what you see today. You hear about people dying in custody. You hear about people getting railroaded and all that stuff. So this is what you call a railroading experiment, a railroading exercise that the elites are using to oppress our people. And it's by the grace of the Lord, that the word of the Lord is still with us. That His Spirit is still sparking that fire in our minds on a daily basis. So I'll read this quick precept. I'll get to let me get it real quick from the book of Psalms. Yeah, I should really be on the road to the camp right now. But you know how it is, man. You just have to keep on building on that spirit of discipline. Yeah, you're not gonna get there in one day, 7 days, but you have to continue at it. All right. So Psalms 127. All right, this is what it says. Let me get verse 3. I'll read all the way to 5. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Ashai, Bashim Kakadash, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with enemies in the gates. Yeah, so this is the standard, that the Lord has set for us, man, when it comes to having children. That when things stand according to righteousness, in the path of righteousness, this is what you will experience. Your children become a shield around you. They become your counselors at a certain age. Your so-called ministers, your so-called servants. He's basically a king. All right. So that's the reason why, the Lord mentioned that you have to be fruitful and you have to multiply, you know. So I'll play the clip and I get some more precepts.
Recognize a gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Walkinshaw, for 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Lyons, your opening statement referenced the importance of protecting children, and I'm glad to hear your commitment to that. I want to focus on one of President Trump's mass deportation policies that the experts say harms children: child detention. In this administration, under your watch, ICE has booked nearly 4,000 children. And 1,000 of them have been held longer than the court-ordered 20-day limit. Recently, ProPublica obtained handwritten letters and drawings from children detained by ICE. These are letters from children describing what it feels like and what it does to them when the government locks them up. This is Ariana. She's 14 years old, detained for 45 days. Since I got to this center, all I feel is sadness and mostly depression. This is Mia, 7 years old. I don't want to be in this place. I want to go to my school. This is Scarlett, 17 years old. I feel very bored and overwhelmed because I am locked up. This is Gabby, 14 years old. I feel so much sadness and depression of not being able to leave. This is Maria, 9 years old. Me and Dilly am not happy. Please get me out of here. This is a 12-year-old going to the doctor, and the only thing they tell me is drink more water. The water here is what makes people sick. And this one got me, Mr. Lyons, because this is a 5-year-old, Luis Annie. My son's 5. He can't write many words, but he can communicate through drawings like this. This is a picture of Luis Annie's family. And you might be able to see that none of the faces are smiling. Child detention is not required by law. You know that. It's not the only option available. And it's not effective. We know that community-based alternatives can ensure compliance with proceedings without traumatizing these children. Yet, you continue to detain and hold children for weeks or months, depriving them of school, stability, leaving them afraid, sick, and confused. And one of the key reasons for your mass detention, including the detention of Liam and his father, is to pressure people to give up their legal opportunities and pathways to remaining in the United States. Liam's father was following the rules, following the legal process with a valid claim. Let me be clear. No child, not Liam Ramos, not Gabby, or any of these children should be used as pawns in Stephen Miller's sick and twisted great replacement agenda.
Yeah, so that's the whole, plan of the elites, man. They have to use our people as guinea pigs for their greater experiment. The so-called global reset. They gotta use our people as cannon further. This also the byproduct of their agenda to reclaim the birthright. Since that the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai Bashim Kakadash has chosen Israel, our people, so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans, as the apple of his eye. He wants to, be that replacement man. He wants to replace Esau wants to replace our people. He wants to supplant our people. But you know how it is, man. The name, the omen nomen of a name cannot be switched. Esau, wasted away is he. Ashashwa. So it seems that vibration of wasting away was placed upon the nation of Edom. They cannot sustain the requirements to be enjoined unto the Lord in righteousness. So they basically cast away. The nation of Edom is basically being cast away. That's just how sincere the words of the Lord are, man. There's nothing the Edomites can do to pull themselves back into the graces of the Lord. Yeah, the Lord is not going to claim Edomites as the inheritors of His blessings of righteousness, the holiness. What matters the most to Him. So I'll get another precept. It's gonna be from. Let me get this real quick. I'm gonna read a book of Hosea, chapter 9, and 13. What does it say? This is what it says about the northern kingdom. Ephraim, alright, Apayam, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. Alright, so that's how people become so tied up into Esau's system that they begin to fade away, man. The vibrancy of our people, that sign of hope, it just begins to circle the drain. When you hitch your cart to a horse that's about to give up, that's how it is. Putting your trust in a system that's about to fall off. The system of Edom. That's what it is, man. Esau is becoming that dead horse. That you cannot, you have no use for. It's on its way out. All right. So all you can do now is just think about a better option. All right. So that's what you have to realize, man. You need a new horse. You need a new and vibrant horse. You need a horse from a better stock. And that's where the excellency of the Lord's word comes in. Okay. So verse 14 says, "Give them, O Lord Yahweh, what wilt thou give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts." So this is the state of our people, the nation of our people, man. Once you look at one tribe of our people, the nation of Israel, you can see the it reflects, it echoes throughout all the tribes of our nation, from Judah all the way down to Issachar, and so when so many of our people and children are stuck behind bars, they're basically held as fugitives, man. They're being held as criminals. That's just what it is. And you know about the ones that die behind bars, whether they are adults or teenagers, children, adolescents, all that stuff, man. They get sick and there's no proper medical care. So it just reminds you that the system of Esau was not meant for our people to flourish. Even the Israelite woman that got shot 5 times with the 7 holes, and the agents was bragging about it. That's all spiritual, you know. And then you read, and then you just watch the video of the Drake, from Northern Kingdom, had his skull fractured in 8 places, and they couldn't even remember, basic, simple, important, basic things about his life, you know. So that's just how it is, man. Medical care, man. It helps, but it doesn't really solve the problem, man. Because it just reminds you about how Esau is, man. When they conspire to murder, you know, to commit murder, and then you have a cover up. So that just shows you how evil, the system is, man. Even despite the evidence being there, there is no justice, in this system that people keep protesting for. Only the Lord can get us justice, man. When these agents drive, see how they drive recklessly, and they swerve into the lane of a vehicle, and they stand in the path of a vehicle trying to move, so they could say, okay, well, they were in fear of their life and all that stuff. It's done deliberately. Even the men of the law have different stories. I have, testimonies too, man. When you have all these so-called, government puppets, man, they swerve into your lane, man. I can count at least, it's about four times, man. They'll swerve into your lane. There was a time I was in downtown D.C., man. This sellout Jake, man. When you're supposed to make a turn, he didn't make that turn. He kept using the turning lane to go straight. And here I am at the green lights, signaling to turn left. He just went straight. So I'm like, what? It's all spiritual, man. It's deliberate. You can see the demons in their eyes and their face. And then one time I was in Northeast. Driving my mom to go see my dad in rehab. Before he passed away. Can't believe this Edomite, man. This government puppet, man. He swerved into my lane, man. So deliberately. That's just how it is. Even on the highway, man. They speed up, man, to catch up with you, and they just cut you off, man. It happens. They try to use all their tactics. They get off the exit, they start driving slow, all of a sudden they drive fast to cut you off. They try to stay in your blind spots and all that stuff. But you know how it is, man. It's all part of the journey, it's part of prophecy. You have to know exactly what you sign up for in this ministry, man. Because you're dealing with an elite of a nation that's being cast away by the Lord. When the light of righteousness of Hamashiach Yahushua begins to shine, they can't handle it, man. You start having that label of domestic terrorist, just like what they did to the young lady in Chicago. Even the Jake that got shut up after dropping his children at school. So that's what they do. They throw that label, they try to leave it a lie, but at the end of the day, man, the age of lying is fading away. The age of the serpent is fading away, and they're upset. They can see the sign in the heavens. They see the signs in the heavens, and they are really, really upset. They don't want our people, to move on without them. They have to hold our people back. All right, so that's how messed up it is, man, in the minds of these Edomites, man. Even there was a time You know how it is, man. You just say, you know what, man. I just drive, man. I drove by the Pentagon one time, man. Drop off a rental. If I could tell you what happened afterwards, man. Oh boy. So I see somebody pull the string in the spiritual realm. All of a sudden, all these woodwork started shaking up, man. All these agents started popping out the woodwork. It just shows you that, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're spiritual. Pulling down the strongholds of the enemy. And they're upset. These Edomite elites are upset. Amalek is upset. The so-called Jewish folks are upset. They don't want. They don't want to lose. That's what Netanyahu was talking about to those Jakes that were inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. Say they cannot afford to lose. I'm like, dude, you already lost. The fight. You already lost the struggle. The Lord didn't give them that struggle, to be victorious. All they're doing is just making a statement. You know, they're expressing the desires of their hearts, but the final outcome is of the Lord, and the Lord has not and did not, and will never give them an outcome that they desire. Even though they have to keep on pushing evil, and do more evil, so that the so-called Messiah will come. No, well, they will try. And that's the reason why the scripture says, for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened, the days of evil. Okay? Yeah, the days of the red horse, you know, shall be shortened. Yeah, so Esau's out of here. He's out of here. He just doesn't want to accept it. So children, you have to watch over them, with grave concern, serious concerns. Yeah, because Esau is upset that the children of Israel are multiplying here in the Americas and over there in Africa too, even in Europe too. Children of Israel are just multiplying. All right, and they see the gravitational shift. They see how the children of Moab are gravitating towards the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. You see all this, communication, man. The jakes over there among Moab, whether it's in China or Korea, they they're all linking up. Even the jakes in Japan linking up with jakes over there in Africa, even over here. So they see all that stuff, man. They see all that stuff. They look at the data every day and they're upset. That's why they have to cause a disturbance, you know. So Isaiah chapter 49, I'm going to read 15 to 17. It says, can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yeah, they may forget, yet will I not forget. So our people have not been forgotten of the Lord. You hear the story of the children writing those letters, their testimonies, man. About them getting detained in a facility because of immigration. You know, so it just shows you that the eyes of the Lord is still watching over our people, man. Okay, because you can imagine when all hell really breaks loose, when the violence is out there on the streets, what's going to happen to these children? Yeah, so you just leave it up to the Lord, all right? Now, verse 16 says, behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hand, thy walls are continually before me. So this is the reason why, you should never lose hope. The Lord is always watching over you, your whole family, regardless of your struggles, your ups and downs, your legal background, and all that stuff, man. Whether you have a felony or misdemeanor, hey, as the Lord is watching over you for righteousness' sake, hey, just have hope. Now, verse 17 says that children shall make haste. The shall make haste. That destroyers and they that made thee waste shall go forth of thee. Yeah, so that time of our enemies, you know, fading away, walking away, being chased away by the Lord, those days are coming. Those days are coming. That's what we're looking forward to. And yeah, that's why the scripture talks about our Redeemer, is strong. All right. So that's how you have to. You have to look at things, man. You have to look at things from a vantage point of hope. All right, a vantage point of firm mind. All right. Yeah, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. And then I get a precept. Okay, it's gonna be in Jeremiah chapter 50 and 34. This is what it says. It's like there. You know what? Okay, Jeremiah 50 and 33. Thus said the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shemashah of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. All right, so we hold us, in captivity. When Esau holds us in captivity for centuries, man, and he doesn't want to let us go, that shows you that, you know, his heart has been hardened. You compare that to the situation of Pharaoh in Egypt. Yeah, so we have to go through that cycle of deliverance. That cycle of petition. Between Pharaoh and Moses. The constant warning. To let our people go. The Lord, sent a message by Moses unto Pharaoh that, hey, Israel's my firstborn son. You gotta let him go to come serve me. But what does Esau want to do? He doesn't want to let us go to serve the Lord. He wants to keep our people at the bottom of the barrel. He wants to keep our people polluted. He wants to keep them in that state of sin. That state of constant corruption. All right. Yeah. So he wants to put that image of Esau, wants to put it upon us. He wants us to be cast away. He wants us to, to be to be wasted. All right. So Jeremiah 15:34, their Redeemer is strong. The Lord Shai, the Lord of hosts. All right, is his name. He shall truly plead their cause, that they may give rest to the land, that he may give rest to the land, and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. So this is what we've been looking forward to. All right. This is what we've been looking forward to. That the Lord will, you know, shake the kingdom of Babylon, and it's only a matter of time. And the power structure, is in shambles. Now they have to push whatever they can to bring about this. digital ID framework. They have to push it hard. They have to move as quick as possible. They have to push the MOTB, and when the people begin to resist, now they have to push it to the next level, violence. You know, on the streets, they have to push that what you call it, that option for World War III. That's the ultimate card. To push that play in motion of World War III. That's what they would like to use to decimate, the population of the world, namely the population of the children of Israel. All right. So you just have to be cautious about the modus operandi of Edom. So I just get this final precept. It's like I just had to get back, to the details. So when you read Luke chapter 23 and 29, it says, "For behold," actually, you know what? I'll start from Luke 23 and 27. "And there followed him a great company of people and women, which also bewailed and lamented him." So this is the the path. See, our Shah was about to be crucified, man. You know, it's what people had to deal with, man. The sadness in the eyes of our people, all that hope of getting delivered. It's just as if the one that we finally could have a relief. See the words of prophecy come to pass, and then they don't understand that that was just a shadow of things to come, and then they start to have, a heavy heart. Verse 28, "But Yahweh Shai, turning unto them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming, in the which they shall say, Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bear, and the paps which never gave suck." Yeah, so that's the times, we're in now, where that people are going to be heartbroken for the loss of their children. The age that we're living in, man. The age of, children just dying, because of the hands of the oppressor. Okay. And that's the pain that they have to deal with. Our people have to deal with, in the times of Jacob's trouble. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of children dying, man. Because it's just part of prophecy, man. The Lord has to allow His word to come to pass. All right. So that's just the journeys, man. The Lord has to show, that the evil must happen. The evil must happen before the good, you know, gets finalized. So that's just how it is. So when you watch this video to the end,
Mr. Lyons, in 2025, the British Journal of Psychiatry analyzed all of the data on the impact of immigration detention on children's health. Have you read that study and analysis?
No, sir, I haven't.
You're the director of you are not familiar with that literature.
No, sir.
You could tell me, I'm sure, chapter and verse on the tactics and the equipment that your agents use, military style equipment across the country in American cities, but you don't know anything about the literature of the impacts of your policies on children. You haven't read it.
No, sir.
The Flores Agreement, I'm sure you know that, sets a 20-day limit on detaining children. You and the Trump administration are trying to terminate that agreement. How long would you like to hold children? 20 days, 40 days, 60 days, 100 days? What's the right number, Mr. Lyons?
So we wouldn't like to hold any children. We would like to remove that family unit together safely and humanely and as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Since you haven't read the literature, let me tell you what it says. Detention harms children. No period. No period. Not 20, 40, 75 days that you're holding children can be deemed safe. All detention of children has adverse impacts and is profoundly detrimental.
Yeah, so that's what happens. You have to understand. Children of the Lord, man. When our people cannot handle the captivity and they have a nervous breakdown, you can imagine. They become damaged goods. They become, um, they become like the enemy. They take on that image of Esau. They become waste away. They become waste away, and that's one thing that Ben Carson talked about, man. When he was talking about incarceration, it turns people into sodomites. And that's a spirit of being cast away, a spirit of wasting away. That's the vibration of Esau. He cannot keep his empire on a sustainable path. It's just going downhill.
Your policies are profoundly detrimental to children. I yield back.
Yeah, so that's how it is. So, Baratas, I've been edified. Just another bit of parts of the scriptures we have to be aware of, man, because of it's the Lord's will, to be knowledgeable. Book of Sirach 5 and 15 tells you clearly, be not ignorant in any matter, small or great. All right, so Baratazar, you've been edified, and just remember, man, you have to deal, with the pain and difficulties and the savory parts of prophecy. That's what keeps you balanced, what keeps you focused, it's what keeps you sharp. Shalom.